Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews with connections in mind. Welcome back to my vlog series on reactions to season 2 of The Orville. This is a series that I started the beginning of this year just because I really enjoy the series The Orville and I wanted to try something new with my channel. And without further ado, here's my reactions to season 2, episode 2, Primal Urges. And I will say, my first vlog video, I said that there was one episode from season 1 that was cut from airing in season 1 in order to air in season 2. I mistakenly thought that that was the first episode of the season, when in fact it was this one when I compared production codes, so my bad on that part. But this is a sequel to the season 1 episode About a Girl, in which we deal with the aftermath of the decision by Clyden and Bortus to get Clyden's decision to have Topa, their child, converted from female to male, and that decision is not sitting well with Bortus, and he's having very severe marital issues, which has led to him developing a porn addiction. I was actually honestly surprised that they would kind of go this way, and this is the way they're handling this. A similar thing has happened in Star Trek Next Generation with the character of Reginald Barclay in the episode Hollow Pursuits, when we deal with his holodeck addiction, in which he's living in a fantasy world. However, that was a little more harmless in his fantasies, where in him just not wanting to talk with people and his social anxiety. However, that could easily have been transferred to porn addiction in that setting when that originally aired. And this episode of The Orville just happens to be more blatant in how they spell out the issue that we're dealing with here. Another parallel that can be found is the way that this ordeal manifests itself. It comes to a point where Clyden wants a divorce from Bortus, and the way apparently Moclans divorce their spouses is by ritual murder. And of course, the human crewmen of the Orville don't really see that as a good thing. And of course, Bortus says that it's their way and that they shouldn't interfere, and that Clyden did nothing wrong. This is similar to Star Trek Next Generation ethics, when Worf was injured and he was essentially a cripple at that point, and he wanted to commit ritual suicide in order to not be a burden. And this was okay in Klingon culture, but the human members of the Enterprise crew were very much against that. So those are some interesting comparisons there. This episode of The Orville, I was really interested in the direction they were going, and porn addiction is something that is very relevant in today's culture, especially with porn being very accessible to people via the internet these days, and its effects on relationships and just even people in general and how they interact with people is something very serious and something that I feel is very important to talk about. And I'm very pleased that they decided to delve into this. It's a little surface level perhaps, but I'm glad that they brought that up. I would in these episodes that have like an A and B story, I would almost rate that as more of the A story, with the B story being the breakup of a planet in a system which happens to have some survivors of that planet after their atmosphere is burned off and the planet's about to break up, and the Orville crew has to save this planet. These few remaining survivors. And that was an interesting story, but again, that's sort of a thing that's been seen before and done before in other sci-fi series in the past. So that's something that you've seen before, and that's not necessarily the meat of this episode. The meat of the episode is the A story with Bortus and Clyden's relationship. And I can see why they wanted to cut that episode from season 1. It is a little heavy for the material that they were developing in season 1. In season 1 of the Orville, they were a little more serious / comedic, more 50-50 with their episodes, and the last episode of that season was a little more serious as well, and they probably didn't want to have 2 serious episodes back to back, and I feel like that was probably a wise decision on that part. However, in regards to season 2, this is now the second episode where Bortus and Moclan Society has played either a substantial or a very prominent role in an episode. The first episode of the season being the Moclan release ceremony, and him getting prepared for that. And I just feel like that's kind of a weird balance for this season, and I'm not sure how that would affect it. And I really hope that the next episode in this season kind of shifts away from that and focuses on the other characters of the series, which, judging by the preview for next week's episode, seems to be the case. So hopefully that'll be better. Overall, I enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Do you agree with my assessment or not? Is there any connections that I missed? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. And just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.